Hi, I'm Roscoe and welcome to EV Marketplace on a Wednesday night. And if it's 6:30 on a Wednesday night, it's going to be EV night. We'll join you from 6:30 till 7:30 tonight. I think there's some sort of a game on tonight, but if you're in Australia, you know what I'm talking about. But stay with us, and then maybe Ludicrous Feed is joining you after that at 9 o'clock. But if you're joining us live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on Catch Up, I'm Roscoe. This is EV Marketplace live on a Wednesday night. And tonight, another big night because we are delving into the incredible, mysterious, and, well, the future really with V2G, vehicle to grid. We've got two guests tonight. We've got Dean from Sydney EV Chargers, and we've got Ross Rango, who we've spoken to before. He's going to unravel the whole world, the mystery world of Sydney, of EV. He's going to unravel the whole world of V2G. Hopefully, we've just lost that link, but hopefully he'll be back again later in the show. But right now, we're going to dish up your weekly dose of deals, data, and discovery. I'm Roscoe. Let's get straight into it. And of course, it's brought to you by Amazing EV, our very own EV marketplace. Now, Amazing EV, we're doing deals on EVs. The marketplace has picked up. Things are going a lot better. The whole market's doing really well. It was a huge month, April, May. Things quietened down a bit since then, but yeah, they're really incredible what's happened in the space, in the EV space. So if you're looking to list, if you're looking to buy a car, check us out at amazingev.com.au, our very own dedicated used EV marketplace. There it is there. There's a listing code down the bottom. If you want to list for free at Amazing EV, use the listing code, list for free. We'll help you get a price. We'll help you get a deal. We'll help you through the world of selling EVs. But right now, it's one of my favorite times of the week, and that is... And well, this is incredible news. It really is amazing. This cropped up yesterday and just caused an absolute storm in the world of EVs. And of course, it's the Ferrari Luce, the very first Ferrari EV. Well, it is. We've got to talk about it because we are absolutely amazed by this car. It is an incredible vehicle. So much contention, so much publicity. Well, and I'm not sure what to think yet. Is this the future of EVs? Thanks, Stan, for joining us, Stan. What do you think? What do you think, Mrs. Amazing? Is this the future EVs, Stan, or do you think you'd rather have your Zeekr 7X with the same performance for probably about a tenth of the price or even less? Unbelievable, this car. It's certainly created a lot of interest in EVs and certainly asked the question about the future of EVs. Some of the commentary I've heard suggests that perhaps it's pitched at another market, not you and I, but not petrol heads, not Ferrari owners, that's for sure, but people who are really absolutely coming from another place and going to get into the EV world. And Ferrari are looking for a new market and looking for new buyers. I don't know what country, I don't know what people, I don't know who they are, but this is what they came out with. This is the best shot I could find of it. And there's been a few out there. I'm sitting on the fence at the moment. We're lovers of all EVs here, so I'm standing back. I'll suffice to say, I think it's more expensive than the Pura Sangue Ferrari. I think it's more expensive than the Rolls-Royce Spectre EV. It could be up there. Hal loves it. We've got someone who loves it, Hal. Unless you've got big tongue and big cheek. Absolutely amazing. Up until about a week ago, according to the Viking, this Mercedes AMG GT 4-door was, according to the Viking, the ugliest EV he'd ever seen. So, haven't seen his video yet on the Ferrari, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You tell me, do you have any preference? This one was only a week ago. Mercedes looked like they were going off in a very strange direction. This one didn't get a lot of applause a week ago. Ferrari come up fighting this week with this one. And Ferrari come out fighting with this one. And yeah, well, it's curious. It's interesting. The interior I like. I don't mind the interior. It's very interesting. This is probably the best shot I can find, the best color. Perhaps when people were thinking about a Ferrari EV and they saw the chassis teased and they saw the motors teased late last year, and then the interior teased earlier this year, of course, designed by the former Apple designer, very simple, and Mark Newsom, famous designer, Australian designer. Perhaps people had in mind something more like this. This is the Xiaomi YU GT, the brand new one, I think. Perhaps they had something more like this in mind when they were thinking about a Ferrari EV. I don't know. Look, I know we're not following the rugby league tonight. I, Stan loves the Ferrari, although I know you did the comparison. Yeah, no, not, not the Viking. Look, I like to listen to what the Vikings got to say. If he hates something and I agree with him, I'm surprised sometimes how. I know we're not talking about State of Origin, the football tonight, but, well, that one's burgundy and this one's blue, so pretty clear winner there, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that one, maybe, just maybe that one is going to be the one for most people rather than the Ferrari. And probably quarter of the price, easy. I'm a fan of the Xiaomi. I'm not a fan of the Ferrari just yet. Interesting in design, from a design perspective. What do you guys think? I'm liking the Xiaomi, and especially this new GT version. And I'm not saying that's maroon and the maroons are going to win tonight. But yeah, if the comparison's there, we'll let it sit. But I certainly think that's a very interesting car. Again, this polarizing figure in the world of the YouTubers surprised me the other day, and this is Shmee 150, and he's been around a long time, got a massive collection of luxury cars. Interesting that he had such a view, but he went to the opening. If you want to watch a good video on the takeout of that Ferrari, I think this is a really good one. He's got a gazillion followers. This is a really good balanced assessment of what they're doing, who they're targeting, and the way the journalists were treated on the day. I just think that it really goes to show what's happening behind the scenes, how much control Ferrari had over this. There had a lot of influences there. His takeout, if you don't need to watch it, really was being targeted at a different market this time. It was really being targeted at a new audience. Ferrari were trying to move away from their traditional buyers with an EV. It wasn't targeted at the petrol buyers. It was targeted at a whole new market. So if that's the strategy and it works, they'll be geniuses. And the fact that the Ferrari share price was down about 7 or 8% overnight has convinced some that they are on the wrong track. But I don't know. Time will tell. I like it and I hate it at the moment. We'll see. But of course, we've done a bit of work on our own EV, and we still are, as you might know, Tesla Model Y owners. Sorry, Stan. And starting after 100,000, 110,000 Ks, this is a 2022 model, bought it late 2022, and it was built in about August 2022, starting to get a few little niggles and bits and pieces. And you might recall we got that battery test done through Ziva. And again, big shout out to Nathan at Test EV. He's our go-to guy. This one was given to me but with a coupon, so I took advantage of this one. Gives me all the breakdown of the car, what it's all about. And I was happy with 90.8%. So battery-wise, we're pretty comfortable overall. Started to be a few bits and pieces and a few little things go wrong. And one of them was a warning on the tyre sensors, which apparently only last for 2 or 3 years. So a shameless plug for my video. Check this out. This came out this morning. We did a bit of work and ended up doing the do-it-yourself job on this because the Tesla sensors were out of my budget just at the moment. Well, I thought they were completely unreasonable. The battery can't be changed in this. So we found one went and then they all went. So check this out. The link's down below. We did a bit of work with our own mechanic. We didn't go to Tesla. We did it every different way than you possibly could than Tesla approved. And my car's out of warranty now. It's over 80,000 for the general maintenance. So happy to work. And I think a bit of a warning there. These tyre sensors do go after 3 or 4 years. There's something that maybe the tyre guys, when you're onto the second or third set, might recommend. But other cars have got them as well. Tesla is certainly up there in terms of price. So yeah, made a bit different choice there as well in terms of how we approached that one, how we tackled that one. Check this video out. Had a lot of fun making it with my mechanic, Ed. He's my go-to guy, and I'm learning a lot about the car as well, what needs to be done, how it's done. Next job coming up in the workshop we'll have for you next month as well. There's a couple of other bits and pieces to do as well. Mrs. Amazing's saving up for the Ferrari. Yeah, it was all a bit ironic. Luce means light in Italian. Mrs. Amazing can verify that. And this was nothing light about this car at all. Super powerful, but yeah, not incredibly fast, not incredibly economical. 3 engines, I think, maybe radial flux motors, but incredible tour de force of technology. I was impressed by the rollouts of the tech and the interior up until the final design. And yeah, we'll see if Ferrari get it right or not. We'll see if this is what the future of EVs look like. Again, what do you guys think? I know 115 per horsepower in the Zeekr, 870 in the Ferrari. I know, good comparison. It's a good comparison. Stan, let us know when you're heading off, Stan, and we'll make sure we keep following you guys as well. You and Twiggy around Australia. But back to Amazing EV, and because we have got some deals here, and I want to show you a couple. Speaking of Zeekrs, Stan, I don't know if you saw this one last week. We've got a Zeekr 7X Performance for sale up in Queensland. This guy had to sell due to some unfortunate circumstances. Keep an eye out for this one. I think a little bit under retail, but it's available right now. Fully loaded. I think that's your color, isn't it, Stan? In Performance 7X, first one I've seen on the secondhand market. Beautiful car. Stan can tell us how good that is. 100 kilowatt battery, 400, plenty of power, 450 kilowatts. This is the all-wheel drive performance. So a ton of it. So really loving this car. And if you know anyone who's looking for a Zeekr 7X right now, the Zeekr, you get the number plate as well. He said, the owner said he had no use for it. So Zeekr 7X, you get the number plate, you get everything. And there's a couple of Tesla Model Ys still floating around as well. A lot of them are going quickly. This one in Sydney, shout out for this one, a beautiful blue one, 23, probably mid-40s, I think, now, coming back a little bit in the last couple of weeks. 2023, only done 33,000 Ks. So he's had the wheels done. He's had the light in the interior. He's got the puddle lights on the side. So a bit of extra work done to this one. Beautiful condition. I've had a look at this one as well. Check that out if you're in Sydney. That is available right now as well. Still a couple of Polestars floating around as well. The highly modified Tesla Model Y, I think he's got a deal on that one. So that one went. Still the Hyundai Ioniq 5, still available, I believe. So at the higher end, still. And then this one here, I think he's probably still got this. The price is probably coming down on this. The 22, done 145,000 Ks. I think it's probably getting closer back to mid to low 30s on that one. But hey, we can happy to talk about price. Plenty of deals there, and we still got plenty of listings coming through. Seeing the market pick up quite nicely again after we just basically ran out of stock. And so it was quite remarkable. And stock coming back through now. We're following them on car sales. We're following them on Facebook. And there's certainly a few more deals there. Certainly a few more deals. So, look, we've got... okay. We've got Dean on standby here. He's kind of get back in. We might go to Ross first in this case. I was going to go to Dean now, but such is the wonder of technology, we might go to Ross and we'll just see how we go with this. So let's launch into Ross Durango. Let's start off a bit of background on V2G while we get our technology working tonight. And here we go. Hey, Ross, welcome back. Good to see you again. I'll just unmute you and we'll be back in business. The wonders of technology, trying to run 2 guests at the same time. we've lost Dean.
All right, mate. Handling it like a champ. You're all good.
We're nothing if not flexible here. But look, we had a chat a couple of weeks ago now about V2G, vehicle to grid. And I got to admit, I was a V2G skeptic. I didn't gel, but after we chatted, it was crystal clear, and I thought that was worth sharing tonight because it made a lot of sense in terms of the way things work, and really, you just put it in such a simple way and such a clear way that this was going to be part of the future. That I thought I'd get you back in again tonight and have a chat. So hey, I've got Dean back on the line again. So thanks for coming on board. Stand by if you don't mind. We'll go back to Dean and we'll continue and see how we go. Dean, let me go back to you and we'll see if we can possibly resurrect this night. Here we go. Dean, we got you back again.
Hello.
Thanks, buddy.
Technical issues there.
We're juggling two guests for the first time. Thanks, everybody. We've got Dean from Sydney EV Chargers on the line. He's in the field. He's an electrician. We met a few years ago and we're friends now. He's on the ground installing. You must have had a pretty busy time in the last couple of months, Dean. How's it been?
It's been crazy for the last couple of months. Ever since the fuel things have happened,
Yeah.
we've seen a huge influx in people wanting charging at home. I think a lot of people were on the fence of getting
Yeah.
EVs, and the people that were on the fence have decided it's now time to pull the trigger
Yeah.
and get the EV, which is
It's
great for
great.
us.
It is great. I know it's great being out there in the field talking to people, and as you see them making that decision, they might have been in contact, maybe a year or so or last 6 months, and they're not sure, and then finally you get the call and they get the go ahead. You get to
Yeah.
see some nice cars and some nice people. But what was your EV moment? When did you start to pivot your business towards particularly EV chargers and installation?
Yeah. So I was doing general electrical service work to start with, um, and I wanted to do something a little bit new.
Yeah.
Um, I saw the EV space getting a little bit more popular with the
Yeah.
Tesla uptake in Teslas.
Yeah.
Um, but then I like cars, and I was an electrician,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Well, this is the perfect match. Maybe
Yeah.
this could be something to get into." So, yeah, got into it about 4 years ago, and now we're really seeing it take off, which is great.
Has your business grown? Your business has grown in staff and volume. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just recently got an electric van on the
Yeah.
road, and another full-time electrician.
There it
Uh,
is.
there it is. There it is.
What
Charging
did
at
you
Tesla.
buy? It's exciting. It's exciting. I know getting you've got it finally. There hasn't been many choices, and
Yeah.
what we have had has been a bit expensive. But what did you get? We're now starting to get a huge number coming in, right? Mm.
There's a lot of choice now.
Yeah,
So when we first looked to get in one, it was maybe 3, 4 years ago.
yeah,
We had the little Peugeot partner EV that was an option.
yeah,
The old Renault Kangoos
yeah,
electric, but there wasn't really much else. And
yeah,
then last kind of 6 months to a year, we've got the Farazans, which
yeah,
this is the new Farazan V7E. It's a
yeah.
little bit smaller than the SV.
So
Still,
Farah's only got two now, haven't they? A larger one and then this smaller, more compact one. Yeah,
yep. So this one comes in this one size. The SV, which was the first one they brought into
yeah,
Australia, will have the long, the tall, and then the short
yeah,
wheelbase options. This one just comes in the one
yeah,
size, but perfect size for us,
yeah,
perfect for an electrician's van. The load we can get in there is pretty decent, and the space is great.
yeah,
The load, um, the platform's a lot lower
yeah.
than
Okay.
I've just on a few vans, maybe a 200 mil lower. So there's a whole load of more space in there, which is great.
That's ironic considering it's got a battery across the floor, right? That the actual the actual floor is lower than a lot of other
Yeah,
options. Right? That is quite ironic, really, when you think about it. I know, and today I just saw from the Driven LDV just bought out another one as well, an E-Deliver 5, a smaller one, launching at 47,990 drive away. So I'm really excited. I was a former Caddy owner, excited about the number of vans. The PV5, of course, around
yep,
50, early 50s as well. Um,
yep. That's on
I
the
th-
radar for maybe the next one.
yeah,
Yeah,
that looks interesting. I know, and like these vans, I mean, how many Ks a day would you do? Just in,
I'd say on average 100
yeah,
to 150 Ks.
Yeah,
It makes so much sense. Like
I
you just
know.
top up for the night, and yeah, the fuel
In fact,
bills, cost of running goes right down.
yeah, I know. I guess if you got a charger at charger at home,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
good. Okay, check. You know, I'm fascinated about the Ute market. We'll go and we'll stay with vans now, but yeah, how they became such went from tradie vehicles to four-wheel drive, 4x4s, and that was the litmus test. Vans are vans, A to B, last mile delivery, 150 Ks, as you say. That's all you
And
need. Absolutely perfect, right? You don't need
yeah,
big range. You don't need big
no,
batteries. Yeah,
no. And there's so many vans on the road every day, every single
exactly.
day. It makes so much sense to make them electric.
So what are you seeing in the home at the moment? Again, maybe start off with Tesla chargers that people knew about with Tesla. And then what are you seeing and how did you choose the different brands that you like to recommend or install?
Yeah, so we do a lot of Tesla chargers. They're great. I don't think we've had a single callback for one of them going wrong, which is really good. Great value for money.
Yeah.
If you have the whole Tesla ecosystem with the
Yeah.
batteries at home, it's the perfect
Okay.
choice. It'll work in with the ecosystem
Yeah.
perfectly. You can do the solar charging and all of that through it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so it opens up a huge door there.
Can you see that
Um,
on your Tesla app? Just for anyone who's watching that's got a
correct.
Tesla, can you see it on? You can see the charger and you can see the home battery on your app. Yeah.
That's right. So it all
Okay.
comes into the same app. So you
Yeah.
have your battery, your charger, the solar, and your grid, and you can see all of that within that same app.
Yeah. And these ones are brands that you I mean, I saw chargers at Bunnings the other
I know.
day.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
What made you go with these two brands? You got Zappy and Ohm, is it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they're both from the UK. So decent quality.
Yeah.
The apps that come with these guys are very good as well.
Yeah.
And the smart features that comes with them. So they both integrate with solar very well if you
Yeah.
don't have an option for a charger within that ecosystem. Yeah, just really great and reliable chargers.
I was going to say it is a difficult choice. There's so many brands out there at the moment. You see a lot of people making decisions about getting something cheaper, and yeah, it's good that you are in a position to recommend those and that you've done some research on and you've got them out in the field. And if I guess the question I'm still asking is if someone asks you, eh, then what size or what sort of power do you three phase or run through what the options are from just plugging something into where you come in at the higher end.
Yeah, yeah. So we ask a few questions from the customer first.
Mm.
So we'll find out, do they have single phase? Do they have three phase? What do they have solar? Do they have batteries? What type of solar and batteries do they
Okay.
have? We can then recommend something that fits into that whole house system.
Okay.
If you already have three phase at home, you may as well run three phase to your EV charger.
Yeah.
You'll get a bit faster charge
Yeah.
and you'll kind of future proof your EV journey.
Yeah.
If you have single phase at home, that's also perfectly fine. You'll still get 7 kilowatts of charge, which will give you that overnight charge, regardless of what you come home with.
Yeah.
If you come home with 10% charge, you will get 100% by the morning,
Yeah. Okay.
and that's what we do with the van. So we know that every day, if we do a
Yeah.
big day, we'll get a full charge the next day, ready to go.
And again, an obvious question. If you're setting a timer, do you set that on the car or do you set it on the actual app for the charger? Mm.
You got both options there. So
Okay.
the car has a scheduling option, or a lot of them do. Actually, our van doesn't have that option, but we do have that in the charger. So most of
Okay.
the chargers we install have that option.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know
Yeah.
because obviously, do you get involved with talking to people about their power plans? Because obviously to optimize it, if you don't have solar or a battery, then you want to be on a rate that's a lot cheaper between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., which will lead us into where we're going a bit later on with V2G. But do you chat to people about their power options in terms to optimize that as well?
Yeah, so we've only recently looked into it because of going electric.
Yeah.
But I know there's a couple of retailers out there that have some great plans.
Yeah.
So if you are charging overnight, you can get a really cheap overnight plan. I believe there's some middle of the day cheap
Yeah.
options as well. I think it's three hours for free.
Yeah.
So it's just doing a bit of research, see what they got to offer and how it works with your day to day.
That's what we're talking about when we're talking about setting a timer so that you can drive home, plug it in, and then
Yep.
it'll set to switch on at 11 o'clock at night, something like that, and then maximize that old wives' tale about running your dishwasher in the 2 o'clock in the morning because it's cheaper. Same thing applies to EVs where it's going to cost you $10, less than $10 to fill up, basically,
Yeah.
at those rates overnight between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. And yeah, simple formula, but yeah, that's what people follow. If they don't have a battery, they don't have solar during the daytime, then that's the age-old formula. So we
Yeah.
don't. I charge at DC chargers. We don't have a home charger, but yeah, with looking at one for a strata situation, are you getting involved with much in the way of strata applications?
A lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, that's been something I think the demand's just increasing.
Yeah.
There's more and more people living in apartments getting EVs.
Yeah.
So rather than having your ones or twos, it's more
Yeah.
like eights or nines that
Yeah.
are saying, we need to get something sorted. So yeah, we've got a lot coming up
Yeah.
where
That's good.
full infrastructure throughout the buildings,
Yeah.
load managements and things like that to help protect, overloading of those buildings as well.
Okay. So yeah, like from what I understand, some of them haven't been provisioned for enough power to come in, but then there's other devices to ensure that the power that is coming in gets spread out evenly amongst the cars that are available in the short to medium term, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And there's always solutions. If a building's really underpowered, we can
Yeah.
apply for a new supply dedicated to EV.
Yeah.
And I believe that the Osgrid
You
in
nailed you,
Sydney.
you
Yeah.
nailed it. You starting when you say there are always solutions. that's what we want to
There is.
hear.
Yeah, there
Yeah, there's
is.
so
Yeah,
many objections out there to situations and circumstances, but there is most people in your industry. There are always solutions, and there are always ways to solve these problems. So that is great to hear. But
yeah.
we're here, and I really appreciate the take up on that. And I just wanted to know, and let me just show where they can find you. There's Dean's site there. Where can people find you if they're looking for a charger? If they know someone who's looking for a charger. Are you all over Sydney?
All over Sydney.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can jump onto the website
Mm.
sydneyevchargers.com.au and yeah, flick us an email, contact us, fill out a form. We'll get back to you and yeah, see how we can help you out.
And there's a little tab up there which you've got provisioned already for V2G, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Are you hearing much from customers, much chat about V2G?
Yeah, so some of the events we do, we'll go to the council events and some of the EV shows. I think there's one on this weekend we're going to head along to as well. But when we're talking to different people, there's always the question of when's V2G coming?
Yeah.
Is it coming soon? Is it coming in 2 years? And of course, we don't really know yet. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that need to come into one to
Yeah.
make it work.
All right, so let's cross back to Ross and stay with us if you don't mind, Dean. We might connect together and see what we can put together later on in terms of all those questions. But Ross, back again. Good. Thanks very much for hanging on. You can hear me. We're all good to go. Tell me what you told me the other night when I asked the question, why does V2G make sense and why do we need it?
Sure. So vehicle to grid has the potential, it has the future capability to be the thing that means we can switch off coal and gas fired power stations because we don't need them anymore.
Okay.
The volume of batteries that we're talking about in these cars, if they are dispatching into our homes and into our grid at peak time, we don't need all the cars. A relatively small fraction of 20 million cars doing that is enough to run the energy system at peak time. And that fundamental underlying bit is why vehicle to grid is so interesting to so many people. There is so much value tied up in being able to meet that peak demand that it makes all kinds of sense for various players to work together to make it happen.
So let me get this straight. So if for example, even with the number of cars, say 400,000 or 500,000 cars, EVs on the road now at the moment, if they all plugged into vehicle to grid when they got home at 6 o'clock in the evening now, that would be going a long way to providing a lot of the power requirements that were needed for that major peak period between 6 and 9 o'clock at night. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. So if you imagine the Australian grid at peak time runs at about 35,000 megawatts, right? Each car is capable of exporting at about 5 kilowatts. Take 1 million of them, that's 5,000 megawatts. 1 million cars, about 1/7 of peak demand on the grid. We've got 20 million cars on the road, right? There's no world in which all the cars are exporting at once.
No.
We don't have enough load in the grid for that.
Okay.
And this is the bit around how do we get to a point where we've got hundreds of thousands, maybe a couple of million cars playing in this space in order that we can start turning off coal and gas-fired generation assets and start enjoying cheaper, greener power.
All right, so we'll go back to the basics. I've got a little video here, which I'll just put on first, and then we'll go back and just strip this right back to see how it works in terms of the timing.
Nissan is offering a solution for customers to unlock benefits from energy stored in their EVs by introducing Vehicle to Grid, or V2G, bi-directional charging functionality on its future electric vehicles. V2G uses a bi-directional charger to allow electricity to flow both ways between an EV's battery and the power grid. This charger converts alternating current from the grid to direct current to power EV batteries, and vice versa, to charge and discharge electricity. This allows EV owners to share electricity with their home and devices, or send it back to the grid during peak demand hours, balancing out the immense load. Nissan has been pioneering V2G technology for over a decade, with around 40 pilot projects worldwide. Until now, external chargers have been bulky and expensive. Nissan plans to embed bi-directional chargers on future EVs, making this technology more affordable and accessible.
So yeah, that's brought up lots of questions, and I just want to say, despite what else is happening with Nissan's world with the cars that they do or don't have available, good that they've been putting their cars forward for trials and with the expectation that they will be V2G ready. So lots of questions now I've got even from that. So talk about the timing for a start in terms of a typical car's day, and say things are set up now in terms of power generation with solar. How does it work and why does it work in Australia?
Sure. So in Australia, we've got really high levels of rooftop solar in our homes. So the starting context we have is 3/4 of our homes have off-street parking by way of a driveway or a garage. Those 3/4 mostly standalone homes. They're not units or strata, which means the resident in the home has a degree of autonomy to install something like an inverter on the wall. And 4 million of those homes already have solar inverters on the wall. The technology that unlocks vehicle to grid today is that generally DC is going to come out of the car from the battery. The box on the wall is an inverter with a lot of similarities to a solar inverter, and that turns the DC from the car battery into AC, either for use in the home or for export to the grid. This basic technology stack is already so close to what we need for vehicle to grid, to what we have in Australia already for solar, that we do not have that much more that we need to bridge in order for this to happen at scale. It's a matter of some standards and some tech and collaboration between the car makers, the equipment manufacturers, and the energy retailers to do those last few bits. And that's what a lot of us in industry have been working on for some years. If I think about the driver experience, the idea here for the typical person who's taking their car to work, getting home in the evening, and is going to be going back to work the next day, They arrive home from work, they plug in their car.
Yeah.
It's around about peak time on the grid when they're getting in at home and cooking their dinner. The car will feed in to their switchboard in their home, support their at-home load, do some export to the grid as well if conditions warrant it. Then at around about 9 or 10 at night, it'll stop doing that because peak time the grid is finished. It'll wait an hour or two for the electricity to get really, really cheap when everyone goes to bed. The car will recharge and it'll be full in the morning.
Okay.
Rinse, repeat, do it again the next day.
All right.
The reason it'll work for the punter is that the value of electricity at peak time is so much higher than the value of electricity in the middle of the night that if they do that, they not just won't face a fuel bill, they probably also won't face a home power bill because of that difference in value. They're using the capacity of that battery to do that exchange.
So let me just put some baseline assumptions back in there. So the wholesale market for electricity in Australia is highly variable and is costing the suppliers a lot more than what we're paying between 6 and 9 o'clock at night. Is that the case?
Yeah, so the wholesale market in the eastern states and the wholesale market in the western states is slightly different. We'll look at the east first. Spot price in the eastern states can go up to close to $20,000 per megawatt hour. So if that was passed through to your electricity bill and you were paying that in a kilowatt hour rate, it'd be really, really expensive.
Yeah.
One of the things that electricity retailers do is dampen those signals a bit. They average it out for consumers. Doesn't mean you can't access wholesale spot price if that's what you really want, right? There are plans that allow you to do that.
Yeah.
But most retail plans dampen those signals a bit. That means that there is a serious benefit for a retailer in encouraging people to be able to avoid consumption at those peak times because the retailer is exposed to that price, or to export during that time because that reduces demand elsewhere that the retailer would have to pay. So there's really strong economic signals there that would encourage people to help make this occur, provided it's not going to be inconvenient to the driver. Yeah. And that's probably the main point there is that this whole V2G thing, it's only going to happen with the driver's consent. Nobody's going to be digging into your battery without you saying that's okay.
Yeah, and that's we'll come to that straight away. Because that's often a major objection is people, the fear that they're not going to have power in their car when they need it potentially for an emergency. But the baseline case study is that you've got your car, you're going to work, you come home, you plug it in. The battery, whatever's available from that you didn't use that day because you might have only driven 150 k's and you've got a full, and you've probably got 80% in your car, is available for the power market, for the grid, and can potentially be bought at quite high rates to help that load at this stage because of the peak demand. And so then if you did need it for an emergency, it is unlikely that it's ever going to go down to less than 20%. There's going to be controls in place for that period to ensure that when it kicks in after that, you've still got what you need in case of an emergency,
Yeah. So what I would say there is, as the person who owns the car and the parking space in which it is sitting, you're going to be the one setting the control as to how much is allowed to be discharged, right? Okay. These systems will put the consumer in charge because ultimately the consumer can just unplug the car and discharge will stop, right? Yeah. So it's not like consumer is out of the loop. These systems are going to work where a consumer trusts the person that's operating it, and that trust will come from the consumer having ultimate control.
Yeah. And a lot of people are talking about this, and a lot of people are already exposed to this through home batteries and wholesale power plans like Amber and Flow that Hal's mentioned that I've heard of as well, where if you've got a home battery, you can potentially sell back in and maximize that if you want to manage it yourself. Again, the car battery is the asset sitting there anyway, and is a lot cheaper source of battery capacity than a home battery, and will do the job. And many people are very keen because it's going to do the job for them instead of having a home battery as well. Yeah.
So I'd say there's a case for both. I think there's going to be a home where the person chooses not to own a car, so the concept of vehicle to grid doesn't apply.
Yeah.
There's going to be homes where, if I think about my house, I get home from work at 5 or 6 in the afternoon. My kids have already been home from school for an hour or two using electricity in the house. So if I want to avoid the use of grid power at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, then a home battery and vehicle to grid might be the sensible thing for me. And then the question is, how big are each of those batteries? So if I'm going to do vehicle to grid, the home battery can probably afford to be quite a bit smaller. Or if I'm living by myself, if there's no real consumption in the home occurring unless I'm at home, well, then there's no need for a home battery. Not every customer is going to be the same. This is going to be variable. And it's expert installers like Dean that you just had on before who are going to be the ones talking this through with the customer and working out the best fit for them.
Let's just jump straight to this. Who is working on it at the moment? We had a brief chat before. Who's working on the plan? How is it? There's the car manufacturers, there's the charger manufacturers, there's the energy people, there's the actual power companies themselves. Who's bringing all this together? Stand by and I'll unmute you. Sorry, I just muted you briefly. We'll start again.
No worries. So Vehicle Grid Network is an initiative that's been funded by the Australian Renewable Energy Agency. That's ARENA for anyone not familiar. The intent of this program is to bring together the parties who need to be in the room and around the table to make sure that this works. So in order for Vehicle to Grid to work, you need car makers that are willing to let people export energy from their car in this fashion. And there's a note in the comment that car makers will provide some limits around this. Yeah, they will, because if you flog the absolute hell out of your car battery doing vehicle to grid, that will have warranty implications. So the car maker is absolutely going to say, here are the rules, in much the same way that they set rules when you're deciding how much you're going to tow with your vehicle that's homologated for towing. So there's car makers around the table. There's the people who manufacture the electrical equipment that sits outside the car. So the people who make the inverters and get them certified and approved for installation in Australia. Those folks need to be around the table. And then because vehicle to grid's not going to happen unless the consumer sees a benefit, the retailers who offer the electricity plans to the consumer that will create room for there to be reward. So you mentioned Amber, and I think Flow Power are in the chat as well. Innovative retailers like that who are offering plans that do things like wholesale spot price pass-through, those are going to be useful for the leading edge consumers. And then the other major retailers in the country, the big ones with millions of customers, are getting involved in this too. Because vehicle to grid has the potential to be so large and the big retailers don't want to be left out. So if I think about the three major players you've absolutely got to have, the car makers have got to be on board, the electrical equipment manufacturers have got to be on board, the retailers have got to be on board. And if you've got those people on board and working together, then this thing has serious chance of getting up. Of course, ARENA is a government agency, right? So anything of this nature that you want to happen quickly rather than slowly and organically, it really helps. You've got government aboard to support, subsidise the early stage stuff, reward people for getting involved, that sort of thing. There's a role for government here too.
So I see a notional start date on that table there, 1 December 2025, end date 20 November 2029. So do you think they're on track to achieve something by that stage?
Yeah, well, there are pilot programs of V2G rolling out right now. So Amber, for example, has a program of, I think it's between 50 or 100 vehicle to grid installations done under that program. They've got a wait list of something like 4,000 people who want to get on board.
This is
right. So there's no lack of interest. This is about, can we prove out end to end the bits that need to be involved? Can we make sure we've got a car maker, an electrical piece of equipment that's available in market, available to be sold, compatible with the car, and all of that supported by a retail plan that rewards the consumer, so the consumer says this is a good deal. The purpose of running small-scale trials is to make sure stuff works and find the bugs. And then once you've sorted it out and the bugs are resolved, there's not much after that that stops you from going at this at scale at the same way that we've got solar at scale and home batteries at scale.
So let me bring Dean back in now. And there was one other party we missed out in terms of getting everything together, and that's the installer. So Dean, have you seen much in the way of demand for V2G at this stage and seen any equipment at all part of these trials? Stand by, I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
All good. So yeah, we've done a few installations already. So the customer has a EV charger on the wall, working as a normal EV charger.
Yeah.
When legislation and everyone's happy, they can add some things into the switchboard, which will then mean we can switch on the vehicle to grid, and they can use that to power their home or even sell it back to the grid, as Ross explained.
And that's expensive now, or do you see that gear is the cost prohibitive for some of that equipment? Or
so there's a couple of options that we've looked into. So you've got the DC ones that Ross was explaining. There's also an AC option. Now this comes down to a few other questions, like is the car compatible to discharge power with the AC port? We don't know that all of them are yet. We know that some of them do. So we've been installing the AC ones. They're a little bit more expensive than a normal charger. Maybe $300-400 extra, but you get that extra feature that you can open very soon, hopefully.
I'll put you to the test here. Try and break down the difference between the AC and the DC chargers for the bidirectional chargers. See if you can. I'll put you on the spot. Ross, anyone can chip in here. Anyone can chip in, because I'm trying to work out. We'll dig one layer deeper to try and work out the solutions to what's gonna work out best.
Sure. So perhaps the starting point is the battery in the car is exported to the grid.
Sorry,
it's got to
Ross,
convert.
I just had you muted, so my apologies. Start again. Thanks.
So the battery in the car is DC, right? Yeah. That's the starting point. The store of energy you have.
Direct current, DC. like a battery, yeah. Not like you're plugging at home, yeah. Direct current, like That's a battery, right. Yeah.
So in order to make that energy usable in the home via your power outlets, for your fridge, for your television, or to export to the grid, it's got to be AC, right? That's the stuff
alternating current. Alternating current, right? Yeah, that's the normal power point, right? Yeah, or three phase, which is still alternating. Yeah,
correct. So the conversion from DC to AC can be synchronized, so the alternating current is in sync with the AC in the grid, or it can be not synchronized. If it's not synchronized, if you've just got DC in the car being converted to AC and a power point on the car running tools or equipment or a fridge when you're camping, that's usually termed vehicle to load.
Yeah.
If you connect up AC that is not synchronized with other AC, then the point at which you make that connection will go bang, right? That will not work.
Yeah.
If you want to have AC that is synchronized, then somewhere it's got to convert and it's got to sync up. So solar inverters do this. When they take DC from the solar panels, they take the signal from the grid, which tells them what the timing is on that alternating current. Yeah. They sync up with that, and they produce AC that is in sync.
Okay.
If we're doing vehicle to grid properly, whether it's DC or AC, what we're going from DC from the car or AC from the car, we're going to end up with a synced up AC supply.
Yeah.
So the question is, what comes out of the car?
Yeah.
Is what comes out of the car DC straight from the battery into a box on the wall that behaves like a solar inverter and turns that DC into synced up AC?
Because solar power is DC as well. Direct solar generated power is DC as well, and that's got to be converted to AC to get into your house as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So the panels on the roof, they produce DC, just like a battery produces DC, and the box on the wall turns it into synced up AC.
Yeah.
So the question there is the box on the wall that's going to do vehicle to grid taking DC from the car and turning it into AC?
Yeah.
Or is the car itself going to take a signal from the grid that tells it what that synchronization is, what the timing is, and export synced up AC? Now, in practice, that function of converting from DC to grid synchronized AC can happen either in the box on the wall or in the car.
Okay.
right? Technically possible for it to happen in either place.
So when Nissan say they're committed to having it in the car, they can potentially build it into the car. Yeah.
So there are manufacturers that are already building this into the
Okay.
car, right? What's uncertain at this point is whether the detailed technical characteristics of what's being built into the car will pass muster for the people that set the rules relating to how inverters must behave when we connect them up to the grid.
Okay.
Right? We have lots of rules in Australia for precisely how inverters must behave when you're connecting them to the grid for export.
Yeah.
And we've got those rules because we are the world's leading jurisdiction for rooftop solar. Right? In the absence of rules relating to that, you can have system level problems.
I thought you were going to say we're the world's leading jurisdiction for rules, but that's that's a good thing. That's
in some ways as well. So
that's a good thing as well. I'm happy when it comes to this. I'm happy when it comes to this.
So there's good reason for us to be the world leading rule setter for rooftop solar because we're the world leader in rolling out rooftop solar. Right? This makes sense.
You don't have many events with home batteries or solar, that's for sure. So there's not many safety events.
So that's right. So the future is probably going to be a mixture of both. There's going to be some cases where once we get codes, standards, rules, all of that figured out, where some vehicles are permitted, allowed to export AC via a box on the wall that takes AC from the car, that has been synced up by the car and connects into the home. We're probably going to have other vehicles that export DC and the box on the wall behaves like a solar inverter. Okay. You did ask a question earlier about price. Right now, vehicle-to-grid inverters are generally in the $5,000 to $10,000 kind of range.
Yeah.
Equivalent-sized solar inverters are about $1,000.
Okay.
So you can expect that as scale occurs in vehicle-to-grid, the price of a DC vehicle-to-grid inverter, that's the box that takes DC from the car and does that AC syncing up outside, will fall. And it will probably fall to approximately the dollar value of the equivalent size solar inverter because that's about what it is. There's not much more to it than that. That's the box that's currently doing the equivalent task in the home today.
And I'm gonna go one step deeper, and that box also handles the job of if you think about not voltage but power as water pressure, and the car's got to be higher pressure than the place it's going to so it can flow in the right direction. Does the inverter handle that situation as well to make sure that it can flow in the right direction?
Yeah, so if you've got excess voltage on the network, you will not be exporting into the network, right?
Okay.
There will be there's rules that say you can't do it, and there's also physics that says you won't be doing that.
Yeah, if it's like water pressure, Yeah,
that's right. So inverters have behavioral characteristics and requirements built into them that are written and there because our energy network needs to be kept operational.
Yeah.
And you don't want massive amounts of inverter output occurring at a time when there's already too much power in the grid, right? That's not good. It cooks other people's appliances. So there's rules relating to that. In terms of what you can do within your own home, if you're consuming energy from the grid and you've got a battery in the home that could alternatively be supplying your home, whether that battery is bolted onto a wall or whether it's on wheels, that's going to make sense, right? If it's peak time and you're at home and you're consuming energy, why would you not self-consume the solar that hit your own rooftop earlier that day and was dropped into your car for safekeeping for a few hours and then charge your car cheaply at night?
My brain's still trying to get around how all that's managed, and there's no doubt it's complex because the grid has clearly it's got the ability to have demand or supply over demand or oversupply, and yet how that integrates back with the inverter and the car is way beyond me at the moment, and we're not going to go into it tonight.
We need more than 5 minutes remaining. Right?
Because the grid is a massive beast, like a giant cloud of electricity, and just how it can see. So I do see that it is an incredibly advantageous, and I do see it as the future, but I do see the complexities involved as well, from the car to the inverter to the installer to the actual grid itself, right? And how much is available. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, and it's going to be a fascinating journey to get there. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks, Dean, for joining us. I'll just switch back to Dean. Thanks for joining us again. Really
No
appreciate
worries.
it. I'm going to go back to Ross again because he has developed Mark II of the VCS, and take us through it, Ross.
Sure. So this is a venture that myself and my business partner Dave Fenwick kicked off start of last year. We both live in Moonee Ponds in Melbourne. Lots of homes around where we live that don't have off-street parking. So our first generation product was a boom that enables you to swing a post over the footpath. A post that enables you to swing a boom over the footpath to let people charge their cars. This is version 2 of the same product. Same kids in the video. Yep, they got paid better the second time around than the first time because they learned negotiating from their dad. The difference between the first generation product and this one that's not in use can be folded down invisibly behind the fence. Because one of the bits of feedback we got was, great idea, but I don't want to look at it when I'm not using it. So please produce something that when I'm not using it, I can put it away. And so that's what we did. Yeah. This is a new version of the product, now available for sale all over Melbourne. If people are in Melbourne and interested in one of these, jump on our website, vcsa.au, put your interest in the form, and we'll go from there.
And so this is to solve a problem where you do not have off-street parking, you do not live in an apartment block, but you need a solution if your closest park is in the street in front of you. Mark 1 was a fixed unit. This one's a flexible unit, and the kids are riding underneath it as on time to prove that it's safe for everybody. So yeah, that's a great initiative, and it is a problem again. One more step in the process to solve all the problems for all the people, to get them all to be able to charge. And great work there, Ross. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining me again. Brilliant. We could dig deeper and go on and on about EV charging and V2G. This is just the first step. I'm sure we're going to hear a whole lot more about it as well. It fascinated me once I finally got the explanation of it being advantageous at 6 to 9 when you haven't used up your whole day's charge, and you get home and you can use that big battery in your car to unload into your house, into the grid, make some money, maybe at least handle your own house, but maybe make some money as well if you've got a flexible plan, and then get it to charge off-peak again overnight when it is cheapest. And that finally solidified it once that timetable was laid out for me. So really appreciate you outlining that, and good to see you again. Thanks very much, Ross, and thanks for your good work with the networking. When's the next networking event as well?
So we've got obviously the Sydney EV Infrastructure Summit's coming up in a couple of weeks. Myself and a whole bunch of others from the EV industry are going to be there at that one. We've got an EV meetup that Ed Lynch-Bell and I have been running for a year and a half or so now. The 10th one of those is happening in Brisbane on June 17th.
Check that out on LinkedIn, isn't it? Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn's where we advertise that one. If people want to email me for the details, ross@vcsa.au is me.
So that's a business. Just describe that again for me. I cannot remember the name.
Yeah, sure. So EV meetups are something that Ed Lynch-Bell, who finished up at EV Networks, and myself, Ross, who finished up at the Electric Vehicle Council, both around about end of 2024, start of 2025, had a coffee and said, our industry needs to get together more often. We need to break down some of the silos that separate various different orgs. Yeah. And we looked at each other and decided that we were the people who could do that. Yeah. And so we started running events. Brisbane's going to be our 10th. The format's really, really simple. We find a couple of corporates or governments who are willing to provide us with venue and catering sponsorship. We sell tickets for $40 each, and people from government, academia, industry come along to hear some interesting speakers and network. We generally get between 50 and 100 people turning up to each of them. So, as I said, next one's June 17th in Brisbane, supported on this occasion by BYD, Master Electricians Australia, Women of Zero Emission Vehicles. So we're looking forward to having a good crowd along there. And then the one following will be August in Melbourne, date to be confirmed.
Excellent. That's great news. I went to the one in Sydney a couple of months ago, and I think over 100 people. Speakers were excellent. So thanks again, Ross. That was brilliant. A good night in the centre of Sydney. So Thanks, thanks, guys, again. Thanks, Dean. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Ross.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time. Thanks for the insights. If anyone wants a charger, they're in Sydney. And Dean, I'm sure you can hook someone up if they're somewhere else as well. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
And thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. You can get back to the footy if you like. You can get back to YouTube. There's plenty on about the Ferrari. You'll see it. You know what I'm talking about if you just put Ferrari in there. It set the world alight. Well, not literally, but it set the internet alight. If there's anything about EVs, there's certainly still a talking point, and we'll keep talking about them. So thanks, guys, for a fantastic insight into V2G. I'm Roscoe, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.